Welcome to the lighter side of the dark side. It's your weekly freak show here on Renegade Radio, also Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all of your podcast catchers. I'm Dark Mark, the goth comedian. I'm looking a little skew because my computer wasn't working today, and I really wanted this show to go good. But first off, my co-host, everybody's favorite vegan heavy metal DJ, Hannah Bach, is Bach.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Hannah.
And Hannah, why are you just showing your picture today and not your beautiful face?
Because I'm lazy and I didn't want to put makeup on and do my hair.
Okay, but if you want to see her with makeup, she's once again. I'll do it like this. It's a little better. She's once again here. I'll do this is the fat girl angle. She's once again doing the Inked magazine cover girl. Last year you were in the top 4, correct?
Top 4 in my category, yeah.
Which is great because there's millions of girls. So let's make it number 1. So there'll be a link in this video on YouTube and on all the podcast catchers and all over my social media to make Hannah number 1, because when she got to number 4, she cried. But Hannah, we've got a great show today. You have no idea what's coming.
I'm excited.
You know, there's some people that have been rocking for 10 years, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people have been rocking for 60 plus years.
Yep.
And this guy has. It's an unbelievable story. Let me tell you, on a couple weeks before Christmas, my parents, we saw this crazy documentary on Amazon Prime. It's about the rockabilly scene, and they didn't know anything about the contemporary rockabilly scene. So my family watched it over Christmas. And one of the stars of the show was all about the rockabilly scene, Viva Las Vegas, was this guy. I don't even know where to start. The man just put out a new album, and it's called Love Fever with the Jason Gutierrez 3. He's 85 years old, and he's still rocking, and he's got better hair than anybody watching this show. There he is, Jimmy Angel with Jason Gutierrez of the Jason Gutierrez 3. Hi, Jimmy.
Hi, Mr. Mark. I want to thank you for doing this. And Hannah.
Hi, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's our pleasure, Jimmy. I've been listening to your music for the last few weeks, and just your story is unbelievable. Your music is great. Your story is unbelievable, and I recommend everybody either buy or stream your album because it's really, really good. I'm going to talk about some of the highlights, and we're going to talk about your amazing story. But before we do, just a couple quick notes. Our sponsors, real quick. Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/DMS and get an audiobook. Any free audiobook, and you have your access of all of the free Audible originals. So, and then you get a 30-day trial to Audible. You can't lose. I'm giving you a free book and a free Audible original, and that's audibletrial.com/DMS. Support your local restaurants, support your local people. Do Me Some Cooking sponsors our show. They're the best vegan food you ever had. And it's amazing. They have fun fries. They have pulled pork sandwiches. They have flautas. They have anything you want. Shrimp po' boys. 1253 Vine Street on the corner of Fountain and Vine, also in Culver City, also in Toronto, Canada. And because I'm going to have to compete with the energy of an 85-year-old today, I'm drinking my favorite energy drink, Raze energy drink, R-A-Z-E. If you look at the notes to this show or online, have a code. You get 15% off a case. Get a case like I did. I just got a case of the Apollo flavor. That's delicious. Fruit flavored, red, white, and blue. Hannah?
Yes.
You're not going to believe how many twists and turns we're going to go through this hour.
Oh.
Ready? You strapped in? You got all your tattoos strapped in, Hannah?
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Angel's mother was in the Zigfield Follies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. She was a Zigfield girl.
She was one of the Zigfield. Do you know the Zigfield Follies, Hannah?
Please explain.
Well, you had
in the 30s and 40s. Well, maybe Jimmy should explain. What does it mean to be a Zigfield girl?
Well, number one, you had to be a babe. No dogs are allowed in Zigfields. And my mom was she had specialties for Zigfield, and She was great. She was beautiful, my mother.
I bet.
There's an Oscar-winning movie, The Great Zigfield, and he put on these dance troops in the 30s and 40s, and even probably before. And Jimi Angel's beautiful mother, and if you get his new album, you'll see a picture of her. Was one of the Zigfield dancers. So that's a pretty high honor. That's like being one of the Rockettes, before there was a Rockette.
Well,
She was one of the Zigfield girls.
I took out a lot.
And was married to a World War II veteran who fortunately passed away during the war, and he's a hero. And you guys moved down to Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
And why did you move? If it was in New York, why did you guys move to Memphis?
Because it was cheaper, and when she had me, she retired. After she had me, she quit dancing, and Memphis had Fort Lauderdale projects. It was like the projects sponsored by the government.
Right.
Elvis lived next door. We had sawdust for floors and had a small kitchen and a front room in one big bedroom. In a sense, I slept on the couch in the front room, and my mom's had the bedroom. And we had a little kitchen.
Well, sounds like pretty tight quarters. Unfortunately, it sounds a little bigger than my current apartment, but that's the way that goes. Yeah. But this is what I'm saying, Hannah. You were a neighbor of Elvis's, and you went to the same school as Elvis.
Yes, sir. Humes High.
Wow.
Were you guys friends?
Yep.
Now, is it true that Elvis Presley he had natural blonde hair, from what I've been told, and dyed it black? Is that right?
Well, Elvis loved Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis was great. That's why he blacked his hair to look like Tony Curtis. Hey.
And how old were you guys around this time? I think he was a couple years older than you, or
no, same age.
Same age.
Yep. He was born in 35. I was born in 35. But he was great. He'd walk around, Humes High, singing Hank Williams songs and rhythm and blues songs. And he loved Red Foley. He wrote Old Shep, Red Foley, and he dressed like I don't know what you'd call it, maybe like a pimp, but that's what everybody called it in Humes. But that was like pink, like purple. He
was always a colorful guy, that's for sure.
Yeah, he sang a song and chased chicks, and I played baseball and chased chicks.
I was going to get to that because my man Jimmy here was a jock. You were not just a decent baseball player. You were hitting 500 in high school.
Yeah, I was the first freshman to hit 500 in varsity baseball in Tennessee.
And that's hitting over half of the pitches that are half the at bats that you're being sent. Hannah, I'm just going to explain this to you real quick. 300's really, really good. That's what most major league players aspire to and fail to. This guy's hitting 500.
Wow.
I got the scouts coming. That's how the Yankees.
Right, and the Yankees were. In the 50s, the Yankees were the team.
Still are.
Well, but they were winning every year. They don't win every year now.
No. But
they had Mickey Mantle. They had. It was just crazy the talent they had. Whitey Ford.
Yep. Yankees have more pennants than any sports franchise in the history.
Yeah, trust me, I'm a Yankees fan. I'm not arguing with you, but if they had Whitey Ford and Mickey Mantle now, I think they'd probably be doing a little better.
Yes.
But now I'm seeing contrasting reports. I've done copious amounts of research on you, as you can tell. But did you actually get called up to the Yankees? Because I know you played minor league ball and you got pretty far up there.
I played Class B, Double B, Triple A, Nashville Sounds, and then I got called up. That's when Casey Stengel was managing the Yankees. I got to play, actually 6 games in the majors. That's how I got hurt. I
Wow.
got hurt at Fenway Park. You know, a guy hit a ground ball, went playing a doubleheader. I went into the seventh inning for defense. And first guy up to hit the ball was Jimmy Pearsall. Used to be the center fielder for the Red Sox. Anyway, he hit a ground ball between third and short. And when it was raining that day, we were playing a doubleheader. I went back behind third. And when I went to throw to first, my right leg hit the wet outfield grass. And I did a splits at the same time I threw the ball. And I popped my knee and my right arm. And the doctor asked me, "Hey, Jimmy, you know how to do anything else?" And I go, "No, sir." "Well, we got a problem, kid. You're never going to throw 90 feet again." And that's the distance between the bases.
Wow.
If we can fix your arm, you'll have an arm. But forget about throwing 90 feet. We're going to send you back home to Memphis. And they sent me back home, and there was no jobs for a guy who can't read or write. I didn't learn too much in school except the chicks. And all I concentrated on was baseball. So,
Well, that's all you really need.
yeah.
Baseball and chicks, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I'm paying for it now. My reading and writing, you know.
Well, no, you got Jimmy, and you got plenty of people taking care of you. But let me just ask you, I mean, when you were called up, did you play with Mickey Mantle and all those greats that were on the Yankees?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And what was he like, Mickey Mantle?
Mickey, he was great. Want me to tell you a little story?
Please.
All right. There's a hamburger joint in New York called Gallagher's. It's where all the Yankees hang out and all the ball players and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So on a Saturday night, Mickey was bombed, and so was just him and Whitey Ford were bombed out of their mind.
Right.
Mickey liked to drink. They all did.
I've heard.
So Yogi's catching, and Mickey's got a broomstick in this guy's kitchen, in the kitchen of the restaurant. And Whitey Ford's pitching steaks, and is trying to hit it. That went on for about
Really?
That went on for about 20 minutes. And the next day, Mickey missed batting practice. He showed up in the first inning. And Casey, how many fingers I got up? I'm sitting down there at the end of the bench. He said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, have a seat." So the third inning comes around. 2 men on, 2 men out. "Hey, Mickey, go up and hit. See if you can find the right ball to hit." The first pitch, left-handed, he hit a 565-foot home run.
Wow.
2 innings later, he hit one right-handed, 500 feet. He came back to the bench. Casey had a bottle of Kentucky bourbon. He says, "Hey, Mick, have some more." I never forgot that. And I saw that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So the lesson is you can drink all you want, just take batting practice with steaks.
Well, there's not too many Mickey Mantles running around.
That's true. That's true.
He's the greatest.
And that's the stories you have. That's amazing. And Hannah, you think that's a great story, and as you haven't heard anything yet.
Everything's a great story so far. I'm really enjoying our guests this evening.
Oh, you haven't heard anything yet. Wait.
Okay.
I got a Jimi Hendrix story. You got to hear these stories. It's amazing. So anyway, so you go back to Memphis and tell the story about how you got, because you weren't a singer.
No, sir. I was a ball player. Hurt. My mom was looking at the newspapers for a job for me because I couldn't read the newspapers, trying to find me a kind of job to help my mom. And there was no jobs for a guy who can't read or write too well, and a hurt ball player. So I go to Joe Coogie's record store called Popular Music in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Rufus Thomas did his radio show, Walking the Dog and the Funky Chicken, and Elvis, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee. They all hung out there. And Sam Phillips. and his brother Judd. So I go there because I had a girl from our school, Bonnie Manell. And I won't go into detail, but this chick was built, gorgeous. So I go there watching her. You know, girls know when you're looking at them. She's walking by and forth and bouncing back and forth. And I'm looking at her. I'm pretending I'm looking at records. So here comes Joe Coogie. Hey, Jimmy, I got some fat cats from New York City. They're here on record business. I told them about your problem. They want to talk to you. So here comes these four guys. One of them was Ted Simonetti, who was partners with Mitch Miller, sing along with Mitch for Columbia Records. He was married to Tony Bennett and Louis Prima and Keely Smith at the time. The other guys were Hugo and Luigi Creatore. They wrote "In the Jungle, the Mighty Jungle."
Right. And just to backtrack, Louis Prima did the original Just a Gigolo.
Yeah. And they wrote Can't Help Falling in Love for Elvis. I love his signature song till he died.
Right.
And Fred Fiota, Joe Columbo's cousin. And Teddy said to me, "Hey, kid, you look like Ricky Nelson and Elvis. You want to be a singer?" And I said, "I can't sing." So we didn't ask you that. We own 10 record companies among us. We can make you sound any way you want to. We hear you need a job to help your mom. I looked at those guys. A job? Yeah. I get paid? He says, hell yeah. What do I got to do? You just do what you're told. We'll take care of the rest. So we went back to the project, see my mom. And between those four guys, they gave my mom $5,000 out of their pocket. They said, "We're going to take your son back to New York. Go make him a teen idol." My mom looked at she says, "Oh, Lord, I mean like that Presley boy?" He says, "Exactly." So my mom takes me into our little kitchen. "You sure you want to do this? These guys look like Al Capone boys." And I said, "Hey, Mom, we need a job. I got a job to get you out of here." So I left the next morning. They took me to New York. In the first...
was that the first time? Well, no, you played for the Yankees, so you were used to New York.
Yes, sir. At the ballpark and stuff, team. But they got me an apartment at the Westerly building. And Robert Alda was my next door neighbor. That's Alan Alda's father on MASH. This was his father.
Okay.
He was next door. He had this humongous doorman, Sam. And so for 4 months, close to 5, I sang along with Elvis Presley records, Buddy Holly records, Gene Vincent to learn phrasing. And then Teddy came and got me. "Come on, we got a song for you." He takes me to Lori Records. And they had the song "Teenager in Love" that they got. And so I did it. Then they released it in the South and it started selling, And then Dion did it about maybe a year later, maybe 8 months later, something like 9 months. And he got a gold record. I got a gold record. But then when my record came out, they put me on an Alan Freed tour with Etta James, Sam Cooke, Little Richard, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. And that was my first tour. Then the deal was I got $500 a week, no matter if I sold one record or 1 million. That was the deal. And then Teddy and the guys didn't believe in albums. They believed in 45s. So every time I released a 45, I was on a tour. Then I did my first TV show of Richie Valens. And that's the way it went for about a year. And then Teddy came and got me. He says, "Come on, we're going to meet your benefactor. The guy's in charge of all this, Jimmy." So they took me to Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And "Jimmy, this is Joe Columbo Sr. He's the boss. He's the one, behind you, and he's going to look after you. But we're going to be moving you into Joe's home in Bensonhurst. Then they bring me to this guy. His name was Philip LaGuardia, 6'5", maybe close to 500 pounds. This is Philly. We call him Fat Philly. He's going to look after you. So from then on, everywhere I went, Philly went with me. And funny things, every time I went to get paid at my shows, he'd stand behind me. You got the kids' money? Oh, yes, sir. Boom, 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 boom. No problems at all. I always got paid. And then that's the way I went for years. I'd go out every 45. I was on a tour. Then a couple of Dick Clark tours. Alan Freed. The Peppermint Lounge. Bitter Inn. Westbury Music Fair Theater. All those places. For 18 years of my life, Mark, no one said no to me for chicks, food, Broadway plays, movies. No one would take 5 cents from me. There was a man, Mr. Hockhauser, a Russian guy from Russia, had the #1 leather shop in New York on Broadway. Mm-hmm. He made all my leather outfits. I had a white one, a red, green, and white one for the Italian colors with my initials J.A., a black leather outfit like Elvis wore on his comeback special in '68.
Well, that's wild. Let me ask you a question, though.
Yes, sir.
Because I want to go back a little bit. So your version of Teenager in Love came first.
Yes, sir.
Because Dion's is the more famous. But,
yes.
But yours, you were the first one to do it.
Yeah. I went on, it was like, it was my first time listening to the Southern States. And then my father owned Laurie Records, Joe Columbo.
Right. Did you ever, my father's a big Dion fan. Did you ever cross paths with him?
Yeah, I saw Dion. Of course.
He's one of the last ones left. Him, you, Jerry Lee Lewis, Wanda Jackson. That's about it. Yeah,
Wanda's, I think it's retired now. Yeah, she used to be a babe and a half, Wanda. Yeah.
I'm sure she did.
Yep.
So, by the way, Jason, who's a terrific guitar player, as I've been listening, because you were mentioning Richie Valens that you did tours with him.
Yeah.
And Jason, you were in the Richie Valens cover band.
Yeah, I mean, that's really how I got started. Around 15 years old was when we started. My father playing guitar along with me. We started playing with Ernie Valens, who was Richie's cousin, and we were part of the campaign to get Richie Valens a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And so we were playing all around the Southland, opening for people like Chuck Berry and Little Richard and War and a lot of these Dick Dale. And we did a big benefit show at the Reseda Country Club here at that time in 1989. And
right.
So that was kind of how we got started. So having that background really kind of made us uniquely qualified to back up Jimmy.
Right. And Jimmy, now you were talking about you're on these tours, Alan Freed's tour. And by the way, Hannah, Alan Freed's like the first guy to play rock and roll music.
He named rock and roll.
Right. He really kind of, and Dick Clark, of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
From what I understand, you were on a tour with James Brown, and he taught you how to slide.
Yeah, well, he taught me that, but it's really like a shortstop doing a double play. You don't touch the bag. You put your front in front of the bag and slide across when the guy's coming into the base. And me and James talked about that, and he taught me all that stuff. How to go on one leg, slide across stage. I did it on the Jerry Lewis telethons. I did it on the '68 special. In all my shows, I do that on stage.
Right, because there's footage. I said, Hannah, that footage I sent you from of Jimmy from '68. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's great. That was fun. Lloyd Thaxton, Tammy Wynette. That was her first TV show. Julie Budd, who sang just like Barbara Streisand. She's still singing.
Right. Because when I was watching, I was like, wow, this guy's he looks like Elvis, but he dances like James Brown.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
James Brown was great, buddy. That guy was great. His band was.
You got any good James Brown stories?
James?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, teaching me how to dance on stuff, talking. when I'll tell you a funny story. When my father owned Delight Records, and that's when they had Kool and the Gang and all this other stuff, and me. That's when disco just started.
Right.
Anyway,
Joe Columbo you're talking about.
yes, sir. So we got a phone call at the record company, and the feds were going to come and raid Delight Records. My uncle Jimmy Knapp says, "Hey, we just got a phone call. We're out of here." So we pack up all the paperwork, all this other stuff, and we go to Polydor. This is done within 2 hours, sir. We go to Polydor. There's James Brown sitting in the lobby. Jimmy, what are you guys doing here? Well, we got a yard sale. So we go over to the guy with the Buddha in Polydor. You want a yard sale? We got Masters, Kool and the Gang, and all our sessions, all our releases. It's a yard sale. How much you got? How much can you give us? Well, we got, I can come up maybe 500,000, maybe a little less. Sold. So they sold all the masters to them. James Brown's just looking and cracking up. We put a sign on the Delight Record door at 200 West 57th Street in New York, out of business. And that's where Delight Records went. That's where Kool and the Gangs, all that stuff, all those things went.
So some of the great funk and disco records are owned by people that picked it up in the yard sale.
Yep.
That's amazing.
If you know the record business, nothing happens without the muscle and the hustle. That's a baseball bat in one hand and the money in the other. Records get played, you get your money, and that's what it is. From jukeboxes to radio.
Well, let me tell you, stand-up comedy is pretty much the same.
Well, that's what it is. I tell these youngins, you're not going nowhere without the muscle and the hustle. And they say, what's that? Well, you got to figure it out, but you got to find that combination. Without that combination, you're going to get old and gray singing with your little band. And that's the way it works.
Right. And here you are, 85, and you're not gray at all.
Yeah.
What's the hair secret? Come on, Jimmy. I gotta ask.
That's courtesy of Warner Brothers, buddy. They take care of me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I wish
85, you got to improvise.
okay, so we'll just leave it at that. But so the story's just getting started because once the 60s hit, you were opening up for a lot of the Beatles inspired bands like the Kinks, the Dave Clark Five, and you were on those tours too.
Well, when those guys showed up from England, I met Brian Epstein, and I had the same promotion as the Beatles, getting my records played. Anyway, I went from being a teen idol and a headliner to being an opening act after those guys showed up with Herman's Hermits, Dave Clark Five, Chad and Jeremy, the Kinks, Freddie and the Dreamers, Lulu, who I got to take out a couple times before she married that Gibb kid, and Foreigner, Grand Funk Railroad, Aerosmith.
And now we're getting to the 70s.
Well, I toured it. Yeah, played with those guys. And when I was in Tokyo.
So you opened for Aerosmith?
Yep. When funny story about Aerosmith. When I was in New York, they were managed by Liebers and Cribbs. And they were there when I first sang with them. And they were managing Aerosmith. So they got this actor who got a TV series on ABC, a motorcycle. And they dropped Aerosmith. They says, hey, man, you can't go where this guy's going. This guy's going on Broadway. And I was there cracking up. And they couldn't get it. What the hell? And they just dropped him. Let him go. I never forgot that.
So they dropped Aerosmith to some guy on TV that came and went, was a flash in the pan.
Right.
Yep. Let him go. Aerosmith started looking for another manager. They did great, and
you had Joe Columbo. Now, from what I've been reading on those years, you got what, $500 a week, but
Sure.
everything was taken care of. Every time you go out to New York, people knew that you were with friends. Wink, wink.
Yes, sir.
And you got all your clothes paid for, all your meals paid for,
Yes, sir.
anything you wanted, right?
In a sense, yeah.
And
My father, he was boss of bosses, buddy. All 5 families.
right, because I know who Joe Columbo is. I don't know if everybody knows, but he was around the time that you were around the '60s. He became the top boss in New York.
Yes, sir.
And but he was always nice to you. Did you? I'm going to get to where you got some violence against you, but
Without the
you ever
Columbus,
see him do anything?
no, sir. Without the Columbus, there'd be no Jimmy Angel. You know,
Right,
I could never repay Papa Joe
right.
and the Columbus.
Now, I every story I read about you is unbelievable. Hannah, I want this guy on every week because these stories are amazing. Is it true that you played a show with Jimi Hendrix
Yes, sir. At Fun City,
and one of Crazy Joe Gallo's guys shot at you?
2 of them came in with shotguns, sawed-off shotguns. There was a guy, the owner, his name Howie Finkelstein. He was the owner, and they came in. I just got through doing my show. Fun City was on Broadway, and they had the naked girls on the big windows, but they wore tassels and the little bottoms, and they were dancing with like the Metropole Cafe on Broadway. Anyway, these guys came in looking for me. Howie saw him. He dove on top of me, and these guys started shooting. They killed a couple next door trying to get to me. Next table, the bartender, the waitress, some guy who just got engaged, the poor cat, he got it. And they shot, sprayed the room, and left. And Howie laid on top of me, just dove on top of me. And I was behind the table. So they left. Yep. They really
And then Jimi Hendrix starts playing.
No, Henry, that wasn't with that wasn't the night I was playing with Jimi Hendrix. I did with Jimi Hendrix there before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You got any Jimi Hendrix stories? Because you got stories about everybody.
Well, there would be no Jimi Hendrix without Chaz Chandler of the Animals.
Right.
I know Little Richard told me a story. He was playing the cafe wall and playing with Little Richard, playing guitar for him. And Little Richard thought he was nuts, too loud, too crazy. He fired him. Get out of here. So Chaz Chandler saw Jimi Hendrix. And Chaz Chandler took Jimmy in the studio, just his guitar. Like if I took Jason in the studio and says, "Hey, Jason, go play anything you want." He put him in the studio, have fun for 2 hours. About 2 hours, Chaz told me. And then he brought in his guys and they overdubbed. This sounds great. They spliced the tape. This sucks. This is great. What's this? Splice the tape. What's this? So the first Hendrix album, he was told, you play just what's on this tape. If you don't do it, I'll find me another cat and I'll call him The Experience. And he did it.
Really?
And he had a hit. Chaz Chandler was a genius. He was great. You know, a lot of people play music, Mark, and a lot of them, you know, they need to condense it. You got to sell records.
Right.
You got to get airplay. You got to sell records, no matter what kind of singer you are, musician you are. And I got lucky. I've had on most of my records was Chet Atkins on guitar, Harold Bradley on bass, Floyd Kramer on piano, Boots Randolph on sax, DJ
That's pretty
Fontana,
good.
and DJ Fontana, Elvis's drummer, and Buddy Harmon on drums, and the Jordanaires with Millie Kirkham.
Wow.
So, like I tell people, Jason, when I met Jason, Elvis had Scotty Moore, then he had James Burton after Ricky, and Ricky Nelson had James Burton. Well,
Right.
Jason Gutierrez is my James Burton. I've seen every kind of guitar player you can think of. And Jason could sit on the bench with any of those guys. That's how good Jason is.
He's very good from what I've heard. I'll tell you that. I was listening to the new album, and actually, it's right here.
Yeah, he produced.
Christine is my favorite song, and Jason really rips on that one.
Well, there was a club called the Viva Cantina. I first got the job there when I came back from Tokyo after 30 years in Japan. And they had a bartender. Her name's Christine. If you ever saw this chick, you know why I wrote this song. That's why I wrote it.
Right. Hannah, all these songs, when you hear the new album, basically almost every one of the songs is written about a girl.
That's what rock is, buddy. Yeah.
So
that's usually how music goes. Like Lemmy wrote a song about Christine, the bartender at the Rainbow, and she's
I was
awesome.
gonna say it might have been the same Christine, but
no,
so who knows? Maybe there'll be a song Hannah on the next album. Who knows what's gonna happen? But
I never took out a dog in my life unless it had 4 paws and a tail.
You've always got your teddy bear Lucky as well. But
he's been with me 5 years.
Yeah. Let me go back because we took a diversion from the Bob world, but it's an amazing story. And if people, I'm familiar with the story anyway. But if people have seen The Irishman, they had a recreation in The Irishman. But Joe Columbo, first off, he started the Italian American League in New York, which was a big thing. He was also the guy that Francis Ford Coppola had to make a deal with so he could film The Godfather in New York.
My father's in The Godfather, the first one.
Joe Columbo, yeah.
Yeah, he's walking back and forth between Al Pacino and that girl playing Kay at the wedding. And all the people in the wedding scene, the first one, is all from the Italian American Civil Rights League. And Joe LaBella, the photographer, taking the pictures at the wedding, that was my photographer.
Wow.
Yeah.
The world revolves around you, Jimmy. You realize.
I don't know about that, but it was just fate,
But yeah, in The Godfather, they had to go to Joe Columbo, and he said, look, you can't say Mafia, you can't say Cosa Nostra, and a few other rules, and I guess you had to have him and his friends in the movie, and they were able to shoot the movie.
My father told Francis Ford Coppola and Robert Evans, I'll help you make the movie, but if any of you guys call anybody Mafia in this movie, the horse in the scene in the movie, Carl, yes, sir, that'll be you. Oh, you hear me? Yes, sir. That's what he told him. Yep. That's what he told him.
So there was a big rally for the Italian American League, and the performers were just amazing. I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. I guess Marlon Brando was supposed to speak, and you have on your website you have a picture of the poster, which has all these amazing Tom Jones, Sammy Davis Jr., all these big names, and Jimmy Angel. You were performing that night too.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And that was the day that Joe Columbo was shot by one of crazy. Well, nobody really knows, but they theorized it was one of Crazy Joe Gallo's hitmen.
It was definitely him.
Right, and you were there.
Yes, sir. He fell in my arms.
Wow.
They had a kid from the Daily News. He had a phony press pass. His name was Jerome Johnson. We found out.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got through rehearsing with Sammy Davis Jr. in the band. We're going to do the show for the time. There was about 300,000 people there, and feds standing around everywhere with their arms full, just watching. So this guy comes up. He says, "Mr. Columbo, can I take a picture of the Daily News for the Daily News?" He says, "Yeah." Pop turned around and gave me his Coke. "We'll get a slice of pizza in a minute, Jimmy. It's going to be a good day." When he turned around and gave me the Coke, the guy put 3 shells behind my father's head in the back of the neck. And then that guy was gone. Who knows who got him, but he was like Swiss cheese.
I can imagine, yeah.
And then all hell broke loose. The feds didn't do nothing. All they did was stand around and watch. We took over the hospital, Roosevelt Hospital.
Right.
And they were operating on my father for 6.5 hours.
Right.
and he lived.
He lived, but he was paralyzed for 7 years, and
Yes, sir. He
from what I
died,
understand, you were taking care of him.
died in 78. Yes, sir. I was giving him sponge baths, upstate New York, Greenberg. Yeah.
And I mean, that's horrible. I mean, what should have been a celebration? You're part Italian as am I. What should have been a celebration turned into just. I mean, you're not. You know, it's just horrible. But we had Tom Dreesen on last year, and he was the oldest guest that we had until you. So you got him by 4 years. But he was telling us some great Sammy Davis Jr. stories. Do you have any happier Sammy Davis Jr. stories?
Sammy was great.
Yeah.
Great human being. Maybe he told me the only guy he would never follow was Bobby Darin. Crack it up. You never want to follow Bobby Darin. And Bobby was my friend.
Wow.
And
Bobby Darin was that great that even Sammy Davis Jr. you could follow anybody except for him.
that's right. That's what he told me. And I came right face to face, buddy. Yeah. When
Tom Dreesen was telling us how explosive he was on stage and how he could do everything.
Bobby?
Sammy Davis.
Oh, yes, he was. That's very obvious.
Yeah.
And, he's the Will Manson
So-
trio, and they got a great documentary I saw on PBS. Shows Sammy his whole life. That's great.
I gotta check that out. So after your and you know you've called him your father a few times, but he really was your father figure, Joe Columbo. After he passes away, things are kind of hazy in your biography because they say that the FBI was all over you. I'm guessing that they were trying to get you to snitch on your friends, and the Columbo associates.
Buddy. it was
Is that right?
Yeah, but it was like say your mark, right? Your mark. All of a sudden, it's like flipping a coin. Everything's great, chicks, the whole world. You got the world, and within 3 bullets, it's like somebody flipped a coin,
Right.
and it's all gone instantly, not slowly, instantly. Then the Fed showed up in my life, and the gals tried to whack me 4 times, and they missed. And yeah, it was chaotic. They just
Your
wanted
friend Elvis passed away. When was the last time you saw Elvis?
at the funeral.
But I mean, before then, what was the last time you saw him alive? When you were kids, or?
No, I saw him. I saw him once with. Let's see, about 64, 60, 65.
Okay.
I saw him in Nashville.
And he remembered you, and
Yeah. You know, Pat Boone, Elvis, me, we're all friends.
yeah, how'd you meet Pat Boone? That's another, because
Tennessee.
you are on Pat Boone's label. Your publicist is Pat Boone's publicist,
Yes, sir.
and Pat Boone is he's another guy that he's the only guy. And Hannah, Pat Boone's metal album is great, but he's the only guy that's had hits or albums on the charts in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, I think 2000s too.
Yes.
How'd you meet him?
Pat, just from being from Memphis. Pat's from Tennessee.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's the cousin of late long called Daniel Boone. That's true. And
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah. Well,
It makes sense now. His name's Boone.
But when the feds were all over me and all this stuff, my uncle Jimmy Knapp sent me to Nashville.
Right.
1981. And a lady, Mary Reed, Jim Reed's widow. Jim Reed was a great singer. Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone. Anyway, I moved into the Jim Reed's Museum. And 2 hours after I got there from a bus from New York, here comes the feds knocking on the door. Mary, she opens the door. She became my hero. She said, yeah? Do you know what you have there? What? You got Joe Columbo's kid. You got a mafioso there. I know that. I talked to New York. He's mine. You're going to arrest him? No, we just want to let you know who you got. I know who I got. We're going to make some records. Is that it? You gonna arrest them? No, goodbye. And she shut the door in their face. Bam. She became my idol. All right, Mary. So
Good for her.
yeah. So I lived.
And you had a semi-hit with a song. Is it called "Leave Elvis Alone" or
We did that. Let's give the king a rest. If you punch in,
"Let's Give the King a Rest"?
if you punch in my 50s Teen Idol album or my greatest hits, they're all on iTunes and all that stuff.
Right. No, I was listening to that.
You can
And
hear
that song I think I've heard. I know I have cousins that are into country music and things, but I think I've heard that
Yeah. On Good
before
Morning
when I was
America.
a kid.
I was on Good Morning America when it came out. It wasn't even released yet. Elvis was great, but he's my buddy. I wrote that song
Right.
because people were goofing on him. And the way I see
And
it,
you have a
anybody,
song on the new album, Elvis and Marilyn, which my sister really liked.
yeah, all my friends
Um,
that song.
and you say you were friends with Marilyn and James Dean. Were you friends with Marilyn and James Dean, or
Yes, sir.
are you being metaphorical?
I met Jimmy at Lee Strasberg Actor Studio in New York, and then Marilyn, Joe DiMaggio introduced me to Marilyn spring training. She stayed my friend forever.
You gotta treat me with a Marilyn story. I gotta hear something.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
she knew what a chick was about. She looked good coming and going, and she bounced. That's the truth.
You saw her in person. She was that stunning, huh?
Stunning. Girls would go hide in the bathroom till she left, buddy. That's how gorgeous
And
she is.
James Dean was cool.
Yep. Greatest actor ever walked on planet Earth. Jimmy was nearsighted as a bat, and he was like me. His reading wasn't that great. He'd read this, they'd give him these scripts, and then he'd go in front of the camera for whatever he's doing, right? And half the time, what Lee Strasberg taught him, he had lived. He did other words. He did with his own language and his own words. And they'd look at it, get all pissed off and say, "You can't do that." Then they'd bring the film back. Jesus, that's great. And they leave it in. He drove Rock Hudson nuts on Giant. Because Rock Hudson was actor. He went by the script totally.
Sure.
Somebody like Jimmy just drove him nuts. Yep.
So you're saying James Dean was such a great actor because he could read the script and he just put everything in his own words.
Well, he could read, but his eyes were bad. And
Okay.
he just ad libbed. He forgot the words half the time in the script, and he make up his own words. And Lee Strasberg used to start his class, sir. Every class. If you want to be remembered and be famous, all you have to do is do it perfect one time. In a play, on screen, and you'll live for immortality. Jimmy did it 3 times. All these other guys running around, they do 20 films, 50 films, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what makes Jimmy different? Just like Elvis and Marilyn. You take a plane out of America, you get to the airport, restaurants, all you're going to see is Elvis, Marilyn, and James Dean. Because what they did it for generations. They left something. Most of these guys running around now, it's like pissing in the wind.
Because you in the 80s, you went to on the advice of Pat Boone, you went to Japan.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah.
And spent 30 years in Japan making a nice living.
Well, let me tell you, buddy, Pat Boone is a great human being. It's like if somebody knocked on your door. Hey, Mark. Yeah. And the FBI, the feds are all over you like a cockroach. And then the guy opens the door. Hey, Mark. He says, "Get in here." And Pat Boone helped me. Got me on a plane. Got me to Japan. He's still helping me. He's in the 90% bracket as a human being, Pat Boone is. That's how great he is.
Okay.
And
Sounds good. But how? Because I know Japan, they go nuts for rockabilly, Elvis, all that stuff.
yes, sir.
So you must have had a great time.
Well, Pat gave me $200, put me on a plane. My first job was with the Vogue fashion models at a place called the New Latin Quarter. That's the #1 showroom in Tokyo. That's
Wow.
Barbara Streisand, Paul Anka, Tom Jones, Pat Boone, Rosemary Clooney, people like that all played there. Sammy,
Jimi Hendrix.
Sinatra, Dale. So my first job there, for the first 2 weeks, I'd sing 2 songs from my greatest hits, Teenager in Love and Let's Give the King a Rest. And then I'd sing Diana. So one day, 2 weeks later, Mr. Yamamoto, the owner, came to me and said, Jimmy-chan, our singer, Filipino singer for the orchestra, he's sick, can't sing. So he asked me if I could try to sing with the orchestra tonight to fill in. I go, yeah. So I rehearsed with the orchestra for about 20 minutes, walked on stage on a Saturday night. I went, well. All right. I slid across the stage on one leg with 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready and go, cat, go. They went nuts. I made about $4,000 in 30 minutes when 10,000 yen's being tossed at me. Yamamoto came to me and bowed. Oh, rock and roller. Jimmy-chan, bye-bye Filipino, ne? Hello, Jimmy. And then that was it. That's how it started. Japan saved my life. I sold that.
You were there for 30 years.
Yes, sir. Until
You fell in love with a Japanese woman, as I've heard on the album.
Yeah, especially one, Keiko Yamamoto. She played guitar better than Joan Jett. And absolutely stunning. I tried everything to get this chick to marry me, Kat. They closed the Hard Rock Cafe for 30 minutes. They had the ring, the roses. And she said, no, yes, no, yes. So then she put the ring on. Can you come and meet my parents at Yokohama? So I go there on Sunday. The first question her father asked me at the dinner table. Simasei, how old are you? I go, 69. He says, no. How old are you? 69. And Keiko says, Papa, Jimmy-chan, 69. Next Wednesday, May 16th, he'd be 70, ne? And the father looked at me, put his arms out and went, eh? He didn't speak to me the rest of the night. So I didn't get the chick.
How old was she?
I wrote a great song.
You did? How old was she?
18.
Oh, okay.
But
sounds about right to me, but I'm not her father. But from what I understand, the only reason you left was because of that big typhoon.
Yep, 9.5, flattened Japan. I was in the middle of that. My lucky teddy bear, he saved me.
Really?
Yep. We're running. Buildings are falling. The water's coming. I had my portfolio in one hand and my teddy bear. And I'm running with this guy taking me running. Papa Yamaguchi, I call him. But even him and his girl, they were there. I was going to do a layout with Coca-Cola. I had my 45s with me, my portfolio. They were going to take a picture of me holding up my 45s. This thing hit at 11 o'clock, the earthquake, and it didn't stop. So I run out of the building in Roppongi Hills. And I'm running, and I dropped Lucky. And I was there. I went back to get him, and as I went back to get him, half a building fell right where I was. And I would have been dead. And I picked up Lucky, And,
Business for that teddy bear.
that's a true story, buddy.
Appropriately named bear.
Yeah, Lucky Bear.
Lucky bear.
That's right.
So why did you come back to LA? Why LA for your coming back to America? Why not Memphis or New York or other places that you've been?
Well, because of Pat Boone and
Okay.
the home. I didn't have any money. I was there 3 weeks in Tokyo Dome in a tent with 100,000 or so Japanese people who lost their kids, their family. and I went looking with the Tokyo Giants and the Cebu Lions, went looking for dead bodies and collect whatever to find out who's who. I helped them do that. And then the hostess clubs, the nightclubs, the hotel business was all gone, all flattened. And I had no jobs. The next job was going to be for Thanksgiving next year. I had 200 yen in my pocket. That's like $2.
Right.
So I called up the Barge Inn. I sang at the Barge Inn for Richard Branson, his nightclub in Narita, for 15 years. And a lady that ran the bar and Clay, Maria, her husband, was vice president of Delta in Tokyo, Tokyo.
Okay, yeah.
So I told her, and I called her husband. I said, "Hey, Tony, I gotta get home, man. I got 200 yen in my pocket, and there's no jobs, not for a long time, buddy. Can you help me?" Call me back. 10 minutes later, "You got first class tomorrow morning, Jimmy, at Narita. They'll take you right to LAX. My wife will pick you up." And you know what she did? That guy's wife went around the neighborhood in Narita, Denny's, where I used to go all the time, Denny's restaurants, all around.
Right.
McDonald's, everywhere. She shows up, picks me up, takes me to the airport. She hands her this envelope. $3,000 from the neighborhood that they gave me. Now, I don't know in America, I don't know how many people would do that for a cat or whatever, but they did it. And they put me on the plane. I came to LAX. This guy, Stephen Warshawski, picked me up. His brothers owned Sky Castle over at Warner Brothers. And I stayed with him, but my friend Johnny Whiteside, he was writes for the LA Weekly and the LA Times.
Right.
And he called me and told me, "I got you a job." And they took me to the Viva Cantina. And there was a guitar player there, Cody Bryant. And Cody Bryant, and he was doing the music at the Viva. And they started with me. And then after I met Jason and rehearsed with those guys, they came to meet me at a songwriters thing on Ventura Boulevard.
Right.
Then we rehearsed. Then there was this great guy named Georgie Grossman. And his grandfather was partners with Benjamin Siegel of the Flamingo.
There you go again.
And Georgie was great. And he loved me. He loved the act, loved me.
Right. So how did you two meet? How did you two meet for the first time? Did you see one of his shows? Did he see one of your shows?
No, he saw me at this songwriting event for songwriters, BMI. I'm a BMI writer, and I was a guest at the restaurant. And Pete Lava.
Pete Lovio, yeah.
Pete Lovio used to play for Richie, and he was my friend, and he knew these guys. So I invited him to come down and see me. So I'm singing Teenager Love, and I'm singing some of my hits, teaching these young writers how you write a hit song to get it recorded.
Right.
And that's when I met Jason and his father, Sal Gutierrez.
Well, it's funny because I had seen Jimmy around a little bit. You know, when he came back from Japan, he used to come to the local diner here in Reseda, Zig's. And we used to to get breakfast there. And so I'd see this guy there occasionally, and I'd be like, "Who is this guy? Is he Roy Orbison? Is he Elvis?" Like, you know, and you would see the guys, people come up to him all the time, and they're like, "Hey, Elvis," you know, and he's like, "You got."
I used to live in the Valley. I would see you once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you can't miss him, and but I didn't know much about him. And then my dad had gone to the first songwriter showcase that he was at, that Peter had invited him to. And then my dad came back home and he's like, you know, Jimmy Angel, he's like, "You really got to come see this guy. He's amazing. And I think you'd want to work with him. He wants to put a band together." And so when I went over to see him, I was just completely blown away. I mean, he just commanded the audience. He had, you know, he's like a time machine. You know, he's got this personality that you just don't. Nobody has a personality like his anymore. You know, people from his
Right.
era have character, and they've got stories to tell. And he's got humor, but he's a serious rock and roller too. And he's got this amazing voice that's ageless. And I just thought it was so special, and I was really eager to work with him, and was grateful that
Right.
that he wanted to give us a shot and see what we had to offer. You know.
And you guys became the LA Weekly's top lounge act, and were featured not only in the Rockabilly documentary, but in the Nicholas Winding Refn, I don't know what this guy's name is, but the Amazon Prime series that a past guest and friend was on, John Hawkes, too
Old to Die.
old to die young. Too old to die young.
Elvis and Marilyn's featured in the show.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yep.
That was a highlight of a long 10 hours, I'll tell you. But
Yeah.
it's a weird, slow, David Lynchy kind of weird thing. But when you guys pop up, it's definitely a jolt.
It was really a wild experience, and to see it air was really a trip, you know. And but it's cool. I think it's such a cool scene that you know, we're really grateful we got to do that, and it's really cool to be on the soundtrack album and all that as well.
Right. It's the director of Drive did this series on Amazon Prime, and
Yes,
and boy, that is one scene that really you'll never forget it once you see it.
yeah.
And so now you're unfortunately COVID hit, so you can't really perform live. That's got to be killing you.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
been a while, so we're going to have to do more live performances in the studio, you know, and air them so that our fans can see us. And we did something recently, and we're going to be doing one for the American Songwriter magazine coming up in the next few weeks. They'll be doing a print article on us, as well as a vlog, and featuring some exclusive
That's great.
footage of us performing.
I know that. I mean, like you say, to go back to the documentary. You guys played Viva Las Vegas, the biggest rockabilly festival. Jimmy, what do you think of these kids now that are into rockabilly? You like them?
Some of them, you know,
So
some of them, it's like psychobilly. They're too fast. I'm not into.
right. So
I said in the documentary, I'm not into tattoos. So I said in the documentary, if God wanted tattoos, he'd put them on the body. So that's a whole different thing. I don't get that.
you don't like the chicks with the tattoos either?
No, they're all right. It's just
Okay.
you know,
So, but you
I
also
like
say
I like chicks
go ahead,
like
I'm sorry.
Marilyn.
Right.
Like
The
Marilyn.
50s were the best.
Yes, sir.
Forget the rest.
Yes, sir.
It's an interesting
Yes,
thing when it comes to rockabilly nowadays, because there's purists, and then there's kind of these other hybrid forms of rockabilly, as you say, that, you know, psychobilly and everything in between. And
Right.
I think people kind of want us to fit in that, you know, rockabilly world box, and we certainly pay tribute to a lot of that stuff because that's Jimmy's era. And but we don't fit the mold when it comes to the style, the image, and everything that really defines modern rockabilly. So, you know, some people in that world just absolutely love us, and other people, we're not purist enough, you know, for their
Right.
taste, you know.
Some of those kids, most of those kids wouldn't know Eddie Cochran or Richie Valens if it showed up in their doorstep. Who are you?
Right. But some of them would. So, you know.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, your voice is timeless. You're 80. How do you keep the voice so good?
Milk. I never drank.
That's what it is, milk?
Yep. I never drank, never smoked, never took any drugs. Drink milk. Milk protects the throat like a bulletproof vest. And it coats
All right.
the throat, and you never strain your vocal cords. If some
All
of
you
my
young
friends
singers
would've
drink.
if some of my friends would have done that instead of drinking bourbon and cigars, their voices would still be around. But
Sure.
you know,
Just a couple quick questions, and then I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate. I mean, this has just been just fabulous. Your life is just amazing. I know that there was a documentary in the works. I hope it comes out. I hope somebody. I don't know why Zac Efron's not playing you in the life story right now. This life story is unbelievable.
I got a book coming out And
I will be the first one to read it.
within a few months, it's called Gangster Idol: When Truth Meets Fiction, the Jimi Angel story, and that's in the works.
Great.
But I want to thank Dana, and Pat Boone, and Jerry.
Now, my dad wanted to know if because I know that you grew up in Memphis. Did you ever work with Sam Phillips?
Yes, just hanging out with him. Judd Phillips, his brother, was in charge of Mercury Records in New York when Ursula Hickey produced a record on me, and called, Nobody's Perfect. You know her, Ursula Hickey, Bluebirds Over the Mountain.
Oh yeah.
He produced me in New York, and he wanted to produce me more, but he got scared of Philly and my father, and so Jimmy, these guys scare me, and he left.
Well, and one more story, because I know one guy that wasn't scared of you was Johnny Cash.
No, Johnny's my friend.
And there's a story about Johnny Cash giving you a song.
Yeah.
Tell us that story. I got to hear this from you.
All right. Glenn Shirley was in prison for bank robbery, and Johnny Cash got him out of prison. Got him an apartment in Nashville, signed him to House of Cash songwriter. So when Jerry Purcell took me to Memphis in '64, do some country for Mega Records, Jim Malloy, Johnny came to see me. He brought this guy. Jimmy, you do me a favor and record one of those guys' songs? And I go, yeah. How Did Love Ever Get This Way? And it's on my greatest hits album.
Right.
Yep. And then
and that's on streaming. I recommend everybody listen to that, and I recommend everybody listen to this, which is Love Fever, Jimmy Angel and the Jason Gutierrez 3. It's got a good mix of traditional rockabilly and some really modern stuff. I really like Christine. I like American Girl, which has got the Bo Diddley beats. It's not the Tom Petty song. It's a different song. And there's so many, Elvis and Marilyn, so many great songs. Jimmy, Jason.
Try House Cat
It's
Blues.
been such a pleasure. If there's anything you need to plug, Jason, Jimmy, you tell me.
We just want to plug the album, man. We spent a lot of time making that great record, and Dana McElwin and the Gold Label did us justice in packaging it and writing the 68-page book that tells Jimmy's story that you can only get if you buy the hard copy. So if you go to jimmyangel.com, you can get that album, and it's also streaming, of course, on all the streaming services. But we really appreciate it when you order the hard copy and you get that book and that beautiful package. And
right, it's done very well, and it's an amazing story encapsulated in this booklet there. I do recommend everybody buying that. I recommend everybody going to Jimmy Angel, and I hope very soon we'll be able to go out and see you rock in person, because I can't wait to see you.
Well, you'll be one of
thing,
my
Jimmy.
Contact. Jason or somebody will call you if that happens.
Yeah.
Yes. So hopefully you'll be playing the Smokehouse or one of these other places very soon. I'm gonna be right there in the front row, and I know there'll be lots of very hot rockabilly girls there waiting to say hi to Jimmy.
Well, that's one thing I can tell you. At the Smokehouse, that dance floor is just that. Nothing
Yes.
saves.
So, and Jimmy, one more question.
Yes, sir.
Why are the girls in the 50s and even the girls now that dress like the 50s, why are they so much more beautiful than other women?
Well, this is my own opinion, but girls in the 50s knew how to dress. Like Marilyn always told me, smart girls dress for men, dumb girls dress for themselves. And that's what Marilyn told me. So I look at it, a chick is supposed to be a chick. That's the way I've always been brought up and lived. Show respect, open car doors, open doors, right? Never hit a girl, only punks hit girls.
I agree with that.
And treat them like a lady,
So dress for a man, don't dress for yourself.
True.
Marilyn Monroe said that.
Yep.
That's a good way to end it.
She sure did.
Follow me, Goth Comedian, on all social media. Hail Hannah Box 666 on Instagram. And Jimmy, Jason, this has been such a pleasure. You have led an extraordinary life, my friend, and here's to 85 more years for you.
Thank you, buddy. I really
Amen.
appreciate
Thanks a
it.
lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks.